Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining today's professional learning session on state testing updates with Geoff Halsey. Geoff is our principal of Baton Intermediate, and he's also our district testing coordinator. Geoff's going to share some tools with those in attendance live and those of you who have chosen to watch on demand, some tools that will help our students do better on the state test and help us to help prepare them for the state test. So, Geoff, I leave you in your hands, and thank you very much for leading today's session.
Okay, thanks, Kelly. Good afternoon. I'm here to go through some information, and there's an abundance of information that continues to come out from the state level regarding state assessments, reporting, tools to be used for instructional planning, and also the use of assessment within our classrooms at the local level. So I want to start first by just sharing with you the portal for all of the items that you can access at a kind of a one-stop shop. So you have the link for our restart readiness assessments, which I will say, as the district test coordinator from our district standpoint, it's been really great to see the use of this tool throughout the district at each level, intermediate. I've even been able to share at the intermediate level reports with primary, even though they're a non-tested building. I know the middle school's been in there using checkpoints and benchmarks. And then the high school actually, was the first to kind of spearhead this. So we'll talk a little bit, about those during this session. But again, the one-stop shop. This is my recommendation is, using this portal or this web page as the portal to get to the items that I'm going to discuss. And my recommendation is to bookmark that. I spend quite a bit of time in this, not just as test coordinator, but also at the instructional level as a principal. So going through this, I'm going to go ahead and just navigate through, clicking on the state test portal link, and you'll see at the top there are several different links that are valuable to to us within the school. There's for students and families. The test administration, teachers and test administration part of it. But I want to spend some time, today with looking at the resources link. So again, clicking on the resources, there is a guidance document that pops up first, and I'm going to be jumping right into that. It's an Understanding Ohio State Test Reports. Even though this is referring to the actual achievement tests, those being, the end of course for high school, and then the next generation assessments for grades 3 through 8. This is definitely a resource that can be used outside of the actual state tests. So if you were to click on that link, you're going to end up linking to this document. What's really nice about this document, first of all, it was updated, just over a week ago, so it stays pretty current in terms of what the state is adding or doing with, providing information regarding state testing. And not only that, but it's, again, it's a manageable document. I know with a lot of the manuals that we get for state tests and also for the, centralized reporting system, we're talking 100 pages plus of a document. This document has, just 21 pages, and it is, very useful. So this is something that I'm going to, after this session, will share to over to Kelly to put in our staff resources in the curriculum link as well. So I'm not going to go through and read through everything that's in here, but if, the one thing I want to move to with this is to navigate and just kind of make sense of state testing and how it is supportive and the purpose of state testing, and try to, make sense and not look at state testing as, the end of what an academic year is. Again, state testing it's a mark, it's a indicator of how, again, a district is performing in different content areas. But more importantly, what is provided to us is how we are doing instructionally with our alignment, with our assessments, and what we know about our learning standards, and how we can effectively assess throughout an academic school year within our classroom, Ohio's learning standards. So scrolling down, there are quite a few hyperlinks that are in here, and I do want to point out, those that are I would say are, not more important, but more beneficial throughout, this 21-page document. So again, there are links to the Ohio Learning Standards. That is where, our instruction begins. We are creating lesson plans aligned to the standards that are given to us. And in there, you can see that now we have, the centralized reporting system has been added to this with the user guide. So again, real nice resource, one-stop shop to get the information that we need to be effective with instruction in the classroom. I want to scroll down. It talks about, in this document, you can actually see all of the tested areas. I know that it's important, even from an elementary level, to create that, alignment and, that together approach to instruction, that as high school teachers, we're dealing really heavily in leveled content areas. In the elementary level, it's a little more of a focus on, literacy and reading, with, our math, and we do have a tested area in science in 5th grade. But, to go through this as a teacher, as a principal, as a superintendent, as a curriculum director, it is important that we take a look and, kind of see at every level what is actually being assessed, or what's being asked of our students in terms of assessment. So again, this will give you, all of those areas, whether it's a end of course exam, or if it's a next generation assessment. So again, real nice sequence of, how our students are tested. Does talk a little bit about the testing format. And again, we know we have, 2 parts for each of our assessments. That's, basically how our testing window is set up and the days that we're able to test, with the makeup days. Just some information regarding, why that format is in place. It does talk a little bit about online and paper, being those options for school districts. So moving down, I want to move into scaled scores, because the RRA, the Restart Readiness Assessment, and our state assessments give us a scaled score. And it is important that and I'm going to spend time in English language arts for, this presentation, and I'm going to look specifically at 1 grade level. But, regardless, of what grade level I'm looking at for, for presentation purposes, a lot of valuable information here that actually covers, the content areas, and does cover the next generation assessments, and also covers, end of course for our high school level. But I want to look at the ranges. A lot of times we look at scaled scores and we really, what does that mean? What does I'm looking at grade 3, 545 to 671 being limited, and moving up through the 672 to 699 being the basic range, proficient, and then we have our accomplished and advanced, looking to see what exactly do those scores mean. So first of all, before we move into performance level descriptors, it's interesting to take a look at the ranges in these if you haven't done that, because not all of the ranges are aligned for each grade level. meaning if you look at, we'll take under grade 3, the limited range of a 545 is, or to 671 is that limited range. When you move into 4th grade, you'll see that there is an increase in the scaled score. It's a 549 to 673. And then as you move into 5th grade, again, there is the, increase at the bottom of the range, but a decrease at the top of the range. And again, reading down through these, what makes this interesting is as we look at students and their progression through different grade levels and through different levels of performance, you will see that, for example, a student who, may perform on the 3rd grade ELA test at a score a 672, and then moves on to 4th grade and scores a 674 at that level. Again, the performance level is basic, but there is an increase in their scaled score. And I point that out because when we start talking about what is the difference between growth and achievement, growth is going to be the increase in that score. And more importantly, growth is the movement from one student's performance level through the other performance levels. For example, a student who is limited is going to have to move into a level of basic before they're going to move to into the proficient range or into the accomplished and the advanced range. If you look at the top end, you have students who may in 3rd grade score, at the accomplished level, on an assessment, and they actually could, move backwards in terms of their performance levels. And again, what our goal is to take students and to move them through performance levels so that they are showing growth every year. And the achievement being, that level that they're at, or a level of achievement would be that 700 or above in order to meet, what is the indicator met, or that, that 80% on an indicator. So again, taking the time to look at whatever, subject you're in, whatever grade level you're at, and, meeting in vertical content meetings. So one of the things I'll share is at the intermediate level, we are a little more departmentalized than a traditional elementary school. We have teachers in content areas. It's important to take teachers that are at, the 3rd grade math, 4th grade math, 5th grade math, put them together so that they can take a look at student growth and utilize that for incoming students as they move students into, those areas of achievement, and be very conscious and aware of the fact that scaled score ranges do fluctuate. They do change within the content areas and at each grade level. So I've mentioned, levels of performance. What I want to bring up here for all of you to see is that, and again, as I said, I'm going to, be looking at grade 3 English language arts for the presentation here. So, once you're looking at those scaled scores, and looking at numbers, you want to put that into context, or put that into text, into meaning. So again, it's very important that all of us, in the educational world, we understand exactly what limited in 3rd grade language arts means outside of a score of 64. So if you take a look at this document, and again, this document is available in the Understanding Ohio State, score reports, the document that I'm using for this. There's a hyperlink for that. So putting this into the hands of teachers and, the instructional leaders of each building, and understanding and knowing that when we're talking about a student is limited, we need to define that. We need to know exactly what that means, because the next step, of course, is to intervene, provide instructional modification in order to get that student to move from a limited level to what would be that next level, which would be basic. So as we scroll down through here, it gives you, the reported areas for English language arts being literary text at the limited level, bullets of exactly what that student is demonstrating or what can that student do at that level. And then it also moves into the reported area of your informational text, and then also covers writing, because those are the 3 reported areas that you have for an ELA test. So you can see a natural progression as you read through each one of these performance levels. A student performing at the limited level demonstrates a minimal command of Ohio's learning standards for grade 3. Okay, minimal command. And at this level, they have an emerging ability. Goes on to explain that. And then as you move up through a basic level, you can see the change in vocabulary. A student performing at the basic level demonstrates partial command. So once again, as you are meeting in teacher teams, I know we have that structure at every building, with the high school having their professional learning communities, with the middle school having their teaming. At the intermediate, I've built in common time for teachers to meet, and that's a big part of our enrichment days this year. But when we talk about students and their levels of ability, these are the conversations that we should be having, and that is having command of the vocabulary at the performance levels. We're talking about growth of students. And as mentioned before, in order for students to reach the expected level of achievement, which is the highest level of achievement, you have to tread in the level that wherever they are demonstrating their ability, and move them, based on your instruction. So I would, recommend, and just moving up, here's proficient, just demonstrates an appropriate command, just the change of that, that adjective on, what is the difference at each performance level. And as you move up through, a strong command at the accomplished level. Again, just to note, this was changed from accelerated to accomplished this year. So that is the new definition for, that level just under what is the advanced level. And again, the advanced being the top level of performance, which demonstrates a distinguished command. So again, using these within your classroom instruction is not teaching to a test. It is assessing, using assessment at a formative level, your classroom assessments, and then knowing exactly, okay, this student is able to do this. They are going to perform, at this level, given that high stakes state assessment, if I'm using this, in conjunction with the assessments that I'm creating. And what's really good about these is it actually gives you, with the bullets, actions. These are what students can do. So I would recommend, if you are not 100% familiar with the performance level descriptors, that's not something, that you need to be embarrassed about. But again, this would be something that I would integrate, or encourage you to integrate, within your regular instruction of students, within your regular formative assessment of students, and even use it for your summative assessment of students, as you determine, a grade for them, and align this, to their level. So going back to, the scaled scores, we have a number, and with that number, we have, that performance level. And with that performance level, there are descriptors that tell us exactly what, those students, where they are and what they should be doing. So moving back to the Understanding Ohio State Tests, going through this document, there is that link here for those, what I've just mentioned about the performance level descriptors. Also, you have the different reporting categories within an indicator. So you're below, proficient, near, and above. Reporting categories can be varied from each subject. So here is that definition. For example, a reporting category within grade 8 science is life science. You can have 3 to 5 reporting categories. Again, to give you an example, when you are moving through the intermediate building within the math content area, there is additional reporting areas within 5th grade math that are not in 3rd grade math. So you also see, with the introduction of geometry in 5th grade, and modeling and reasoning, those are 2 additional reporting categories. So again, that's how you interpret the results that you're getting from those tests. Okay, so again, moving through this, it's going to, this document, as I will share, it doesn't necessarily give you the instructions on how to generate reports within the centralized reporting system, but it does talk about how to interpret those reports and how to use those, to drive your instructions. So I'm going to go ahead and jump over to, with the time that I have remaining here, into the restart readiness assessments and into the centralized reporting, and just talk a little bit about, get logged in here. About how to interpret some of the reports that we're seeing from, the RRA. So being the district, test coordinator, I see a lot of stuff on my screen. So let me just get to the filters and navigate over to, our 3rd grade ELA. I'm going to bring up the benchmark, and I'm also going to bring up the state 3rd grade, because our 3rd graders do take a fall assessment. So again, in the reporting results from state testing, I'm looking at 2 different results. One is here, taken from Ohio State's test. This was given back in the fall, and looking just at face value, I can look and see on here, where our students are performing in terms of their levels of performance. So your red being your limited, your orange being your basic, green proficient, blue is your accomplished, and the purple being the advanced level. So pulling up this information, what we've found by giving this assessment, and if you're using benchmarking within these reports, I can show you, here are your different categories that are reported. So you're reading an informational text, your literary text, and your writing. And then within there, we can see some surface level data that, we know is crucial to this time of year, with taking in into consideration the levels of performance in those, and also those scaled scores. What we like seeing right now is, we are, pretty aligned with the state in terms of our scaled score. We definitely want to see better results than this, but we haven't covered all of our standards at this point. So we're, I look at this and we're in pretty good shape with a 669, and 36 proficient with that class. So breaking this down, you can look at and see, and comparatively to our fall results, which I won't jump into right now, but we are actually, we are seeing the growth of our students and the movement of our students, into that, level of achievement. But again, with the reporting on the CRS, on the centralized reporting system, the real nice thing about this is very aligned, to what we want to see in terms of growth as we move, to that level of achievement, and be able to break down this data, looking at our 5, worst areas with the items that we can click on and bring up. And then we can take students within our classrooms, within intervention periods, within enrichment periods, and actually group these students based on the need for additional instruction aligned with the standards that are the most need. So once again, not teaching to a test, but using the resources and using the tools that are available to us and being able to print out, items and use those within our regular instruction of students to get them to, to move to those levels that we would like to see. So, in summary with this, this document, this understanding Ohio State's test score reports. Yes, it's for Ohio State tests, but can be used absolutely within regular instruction within our classrooms to support modification of instruction. That's my new term for differentiation, because I think everybody uses differentiation and we all have a different definition. If we're talking about modification of instruction, that's encompassing of our students that may have the most challenges. It's also, covers our students who may be just at that proficient level that we want to move. And of course, our students that are at the high end of, performance. We want all students moving. That's our job, is to get all of them to move. And using these tools within our instruction is very supportive of, what we need to get there. So I appreciate everybody's time. And again, if there are any questions, if anybody needs my support as as a district test coordinator, or, more importantly, a teacher by trade, I will be more than happy, to help you out and, bring more clarification to utilizing these within your classroom. So thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Halsey. I just placed in the chat a link to the form to get credit for attending this session. And I certainly want to open this up to anybody that has any questions for Mr. Halsey while we have him available. But of course, you can always reach out to Geoff, and he'll be happy to answer any testing question like that. And Mr. Halsey, hopefully you'll send me the links to these. I don't think these are items that I have in the resource area already, but if you go into staff resources, drop down to curriculum resources, there's a testing category, and I'll be sure to add these links that Geoff shared during this presentation to that as well. Okay, can you send those to me?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Does anybody, we have about a minute or so left. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Halsey about the test or restart readiness or anything like that? Okay. Well, I appreciate your time today, and look forward to receiving those links and resources, and reach out to Geoff with any questions. Thanks, Mr. Halsey. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Appreciate you inviting me.
All right. Thanks, Geoff. Appreciate you.
Hey, no problem.
All right.
Man, that time goes quick.
It certainly does. It certainly does. It's like inviting a nuclear physicist on to talk about nuclear physics and only giving them 30 minutes to explain it all. But I appreciate it. I think
this document that's out there is really, it's it's what we need, because it's not overwhelming, 100 pages, and it has everything at your fingertips, and it just it just brings some clarity to what we're doing. And so
yeah, just send me that link and I'll add it on there. Appreciate it.
You want the you want the link for the for the
just that it was that ODE document. I don't need the restart readiness one, but just the I don't know. It's just kind of what you're kind of explaining, the different steps in there. I can't think of what you called it or what it's called.
Yeah, I think that's it right there.
I can't see your screen.
I just sent you an email.
Oh, okay. Let me open it up and see.
Yeah, that's one you can throw in that staff resources, for sure. Like, understanding the reports.
Yeah, that's it. That's the one.
Yeah, the one thing that I didn't mention that I was, this would be a great resource for our parents as well.
Okay.
To have just for their understanding, but I think it's important that we understand it too.
Sure.
before we just start giving that out to parents.
Yeah.
You know,
I'll
being-
be honest, it's not one that I've looked at much, so I appreciate you going through it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's comprehensive. It brings together learning standards, you know, performance levels with scaled scores. Like what does a 673 mean?
Mm-hmm.
I got that on an assessment. What does that mean?
Right.
And where do you go from there? So,
Absolutely. Yep.
so,
Good stuff. All right. Thank you, sir.
all right. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Have a good night.
All right. Take care.